Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the Jefferson Educational Society's digital program, Center for Arts and Technology, Wayne School Reimagined. I'm Angela Beaumont, and I'm the Director of Programming at the Jefferson. Folks, as we begin today's event, I'd like to remind everyone tuning in that we are taking your questions via the comment section on Facebook. If you have a question, please share it there, as well as we'll work our way through as many questions from you as we can. I'd like to thank our speaker, Daria Devlin, for presenting today. Ms. Devlin is the Executive Director of Ecad, a short for Erie Center for Arts and Technology. A lifelong resident of the city of Erie, Mrs. Devlin is a graduate of the former Central High School. She holds a bachelor's degree from Colgate University and an MED in Educational Leadership from Edinburgh University. Ms. Devlin has over 15 years of experience in the nonprofit sector. Prior to taking the position with Ecad in 2019, Ms. Devlin served as the coordinator of grants and community relations for Erie's public schools. From her, we will hear about the physical transformation of the former Wayne School on 650 East Avenue and its unique financing model. We'll learn about the organizations and programs now taking place in the building and how this project might serve as a model for future neighborhood revitalization. With this, I'd like to hand over to you, Daria.
Thank you so much, Angela. And thanks to everyone for being here digitally, virtually with us today. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to talk with all of you. I'm going to share my screen and have some slides for a presentation here now. So just give me 1 second to do that. There we go. There we go. So today, the title of our talk, as Angela has mentioned, is Wayne School Reimagined. And I love telling the story of Wayne School and telling people about how we got where we are and showing pictures. Hopefully some of you, maybe after today, will reach out and like a tour in person of the school. We're always happy to offer that. But today we'll just give you a sense of kind of where we've been. And we'll talk a little at the end as well about where we're going and how we think this model might be something that others could consider replicating here in Erie. So whenever I begin this story, I always have to start with Bill Strickland. Ecat's story truly begins with Bill. Many of you out there might have heard of Bill or even seen him speak. I know he was here a number of years at Mercyhurst University. If you haven't heard of Bill, there's a number of ways to get to know him better. He has a TED Talk in 2002 called Rebuilding a Neighborhood with Beauty, Dignity, and Hope. He's got a wonderful book, Make the Impossible Possible. And then in 2013, a really strong interview on NPR called Can Beauty Change a Life? So whenever we think about what we're doing here, we think about Bill Strickland, who was the founder of the Manchester Bidwell Corporation in Pittsburgh. And Bill came up with this really powerful model because he himself was a Black man living in Pittsburgh, in the Manchester neighborhood of Pittsburgh in the 60s. He saw race tension in his neighborhood. He saw poverty, and he saw truly a lack of hope. And so Bill tells the story that his life was changed by his art teacher. He had a ceramics teacher in high school at his local high school who really began to teach him about beauty and the idea that perhaps there was more out there than what his kind of limited worldview had shown. And so after graduating from high school, Bill went on to start and took over a workforce development program in Pittsburgh. It was called the Bidwell Corporation. And he transformed and really put these two things together, arts that had such a meaning in his life, and then the workforce development that he was being asked to do in Pittsburgh. And together, these two things formed this really powerful educational model. Bill's model has now been replicated in centers across the United States. Many urban centers, Cleveland, Buffalo, as well as some rural sites in Brockway and in Sharon, Pennsylvania, Grand Rapids, Chicago, New Haven, Boston, and even in Israel. I was very lucky 2 years ago, prior to the pandemic, to travel to Akko, Israel, and meet with other executive directors in a center replicated after this same model internationally. So that was extremely powerful. So as I mentioned, even though our story starts with Bill, we are an Erie-based replication of his model. And I always really want to stress that this model is just a model for us. We needed to make it work here in Erie. We have a local board. Our board was formed in 2018. Many, local members of the community. Our board chair is Boo Haggerty, the president of Hammett Health Foundation. We've got a number of community members on that board, and it is Erie based. So we need to make this model work here for us. So our mission at Ecad is we're a community-based educational arts and career training facility that inspires, educates, and empowers people of all ages with adult job training and creative youth programs. And we do this because we really want to realize the genius in everyone and enable youth and adults to become, and this is really the point, productive and successful members of society. So that's really what our board was formed to do. We knew that was the mission, and we knew that this was something we wanted to bring to Erie because it had been successful in so many other centers. And I always like to share that we're really 3 core philosophies of our work. And I give you this background because I think when we talk about the building, you'll see how some of this comes into play. So our 3 core philosophies of the model are these. First, that all people are assets. Everyone has something to offer. It's just our job to find that in them. Second, and probably most importantly, that environment shapes behavior. We believe that when you put people in a place of light and beauty and hope, that they themselves will transform and be able to be open to other opportunities that perhaps they might not have been open to before. And lastly, that creativity fuels enterprise. And as we talk today about the financial model that allowed us to do this project, I think you'll agree that it was both creative and entrepreneurial. And so we really put these philosophies into action. So what do we do? I mean, I've told you kind of where we come from and why, but what do we actually do? Well, 2 things. We do after-school arts programming for middle and high school students. We do this in world-class studios, in classes that are taught by professional teaching artists. So that means that all of our instructors themselves have their own body of work. They are professional artists here in our community. And importantly, we strive very hard to build a pool of teaching artists that reflect the diversity of the students we're serving. Currently, the 4 studios we're offering are studio arts, that's painting and drawing. We have some fashion design happening as well. Ceramics. I mentioned that really the core of this for Strickland was ceramics. And so we wanted to make sure we had that here. Audio and video production, that's filmmaking, photography, and then digital media. And those studios are all activated here at Ecad, and we are offering programs in each of those right now to teens after school. The other thing that we do is we do daytime certified job training programs for adults. So just about 2 weeks ago, we finally received our license from the Board of Education to operate as a private licensed school. And we were approved to offer a medical assistant training program here at Ecad. With that license in hand, we were able to start our first cohort actually just this week. We have 5 adult students enrolled in that program. It's a 28-week full-time program. When it's complete, our students will be able to sit for state certification as certified medical assistants. The most important thing, though, that you need to know about all of those programs is they are all offered at no cost. There is no cost to any student to participate in our after-school programs, and there is no cost to participate in our adult job training programs. That is important because we know that very often, particularly for graduates of our local high schools, especially in the city of Erie, they might have graduated without a real plan for what they wanted to do. Many of them will go on to perhaps incur debt at for-profit training programs or perhaps search for their own career paths. So we believe that these no-cost programs can really provide an on-ramp for our youth and perhaps some of our adults who are looking to change their life through a career. So we are starting with the medical assistant training, and we will probably move on. Our plan is to add a medical coding and billing program in the fall of 22. So with all that in mind and what we do, we really needed a place to do all these things. And so when I was hired as the executive director, the first executive director of Ecad in January of 2019, my task was to find a place to do this programming, a physical location. And so very quickly, we became very interested in the former Wayne School. Wayne is an 80,000 square foot building. It's located on the corner of 6th and East Avenue, an incredibly important and busy commercial corridor here in the east side of Erie. It's located across the street from what was East High School and now is East Middle School. Built in 1913, the building was closed by the Erie School District in 2017. And certainly for me, it holds some personal significance. I was part of the team in my time at the school district that actually closed this building. I watched the families and the students and staff really suffer a lot of grief when the building had to close. There was a lot of love and history wrapped up in it. And so we were very interested in the ability to perhaps turn it into something new. Importantly as well, I was also part of a team back in 2012 in collaboration with the Hammett Health Foundation that put a school-based health center in the basement of this building. So back in 2012, with funding from the Erie Community Foundation and the federal government, we put a school-based health center, an actual doctor's office, in the basement of this building. And even when the school closed in 2017, that doctor's office continued to operate and see patients. So what we had was an 80,000 square foot, really decaying space that was still housing a 4,000 square foot tiny doctor's office in the basement. And this was really an untenable situation and something needed to change. So Ecad became very interested in this space. We purchased it from the Erie School District for $250,000. We guaranteed the district that we would put the building back on the tax rolls, even though we are a nonprofit. We did that voluntarily and as part of the sale agreement. And we immediately hired an architect, Avon Design Group out of Pittsburgh, and a local firm, Spalding Banks Project Management, to manage the project for us. When we purchased the building, we were very aware that it needed significant repair. It, as I said, was over 100 years old and had been completely closed, nearly, except for that basement space, for 2 years. With the help of Avon Graph and Spalding Banks, we realized it was going to be about that time, we thought, $7 million project. And so we needed to find the financing to do it. We initially thought that we were in an opportunity zone, which was part of the reason we purchased the building, thinking that we could use the kind of burgeoning opportunity zone investment model to finance this project. And then we quickly learned that we were across the street from the zone. So because we were located on the south side of 6th Street and not the north side, we were outside of the opportunity zone boundaries and we could not use it. So we came across a new market tax credit financing tool. No one in Erie County was particularly familiar with this tool. There were a few folks at the Erie Community Foundation, at that time Court Gold, and also Perry Wood at ECRA, who knew about the tool, but really had not seen it put into practice here in Erie. And so we had to learn about it. So I'm not going to go through everything on this slide, but really what I've summarized here is how a new market tax credit program works and the advantages of using the new market tax credit. So just on that right-hand side there, new market tax credits are specifically designed to finance projects in disinvested areas, which this certainly was. They provide flexible financing, they encourage private investment, and they support affordable loans. So really the summary of how the new market works is this. A CDE, which in our case was Commonwealth Cornerstone Group out of Harrisburg, receives the tax credit from the federal government, from the CDFI. They hold the tax credit and then find an investor, in our case, PNC Bank in Pittsburgh, to make an investment into the project. With that investment, the investor receives a tax credit that they can realize over a 7-year period. In our case, we received about a $3 million capital investment from that new market tax credit deal from PNC Bank. But in order to do the project, we had to build the rest of the capital stack, which at that point was about $7 million more. And to build the rest of that stack, we had to find low income loans, low rate loans that would allow us to match the capital stack and build that up. And so once we were able to build the 7 million, then we could take advantage of the 3 million from PNC in this investment, put those together and have a $10 million capital stack for our project. So here's how we did it. And I have a little quote from Bill Strickland at the top. I mentioned earlier the name of his book. Strickland's really is about making the impossible possible. And as we did this project, that's exactly what we felt like we were doing. So on the left-hand side there, you can see it ended up being about an $11.5 million renovation. Here's how we put that stack together. $3 million from the new market tax credit, again, provided by an investor, PNC Bank. about $2.2 million in bank financing. We went to Erie Bank and Northwest Bank. They came together into the project to kind of share the risk. They provided us with a low interest loan, which was a requirement of the new market tax credit. Those low interest loans are at about 2%, which was significantly lower than market. And they were able to then share the risk on the deal. We also received $1.5 million loan from the Erie Community Foundation, a $500,000 loan from ECRA. Again, these are not grants, these are loans, equity investments, loans that these organizations gave us. CCG, who was the provider of our credit, provided us also a loan, $1.3 million. We had $1 million grant from Hammond Health Foundation. That was a grant we did not have to pay back. And then we actually had still a bit of a gap. So we had to go outside of Erie, and we became introduced to the Reinvestment Fund, which is a social impact organization out of Philadelphia. And they provided us with another $500,000 grant to kind of get us over the hump. And finally, we did receive a $500,000 RACB grant from the state of Pennsylvania. And that was really to help us with the build out of the School of Nursing project, which I'll talk about in a minute. So all of those pieces together, along with, a couple of individual gifts and grants, got us to the $11.5 million that we needed. Of that, $10.5 million is in this new market tax credit. And just very briefly how that works. I mentioned that PNC Bank has 7 years to realize their tax credit investment into the project. At the end of 7 years, that tax credit will be realized, and we will be able to basically refinance whatever debt we have left using the equity that we have now built in the building. And we've built that equity through this really significant build out plan, which is what you can see on the right-hand side. So 80,000 square feet is what we have here. And here's how it breaks down now that it's been completely renovated. On the ground floor, we have a pharmacy. We have a full gym, an art gallery and meeting space in the community room. And we have a nonprofit co-working space in the ground floor. And in that, we've rented very small offices to the Blue Coats, to Birthroot Doula, who provide doula outreach for mothers of color, and Erie's Black Wall Street. So that really rounds out the ground floor, which is mostly community space, but also some of these small nonprofit suites. On the first floor of the building, this is where Ecad lives. So in addition to obviously being the renovator and the landlord of the space, we also have our own programming, which I mentioned at the beginning. So on the first floor of this building, in about 15,000 square feet, we offer those youth arts and adult job training programs. On the second floor of our building, the floor is split. On one hand, we have Primary Health Network, which I mentioned used to be down in that basement space. Now they're in 8,000 square feet of brand new space. They offer primary health care to underserved and underprivileged populations. The amazing thing about Primary Health Network that I think most people don't know, you do not have to be a patient of theirs to be seen. You don't need to have an appointment, and you don't need to have any insurance. They really truly are offering primary health care in this neighborhood to residents of the area and really anyone in Erie County. So they're a wonderful resource. They're located now on the second floor of our building. I will tell you, we see people every day, multilingual, multicultural, multi-race. They're really truly serving everyone in our community. On the other half of their floor, our friends at United Way of Erie County moved their entire offices over here to be with us. And the unique part about that relationship is they actually purchased their space from us as a condo. So they are essentially very, very small minority owners in the building. Their space was purchased from us as a condo. So truly, they will be with us here as partners for a very long time. The rest of our tenants all have 10-year leases. The lease payments that we receive from Primary Health Network and our other tenants allow us to pay the debt service on the debt that I just discussed. So the last tenant really in the space on the third floor of our building, the Upmc School of Nursing. We were so incredibly grateful to be able to offer that space. UPMC had already offered nursing programs at the Jameson School, which is kind of downstate a bit. They wanted to bring it to Erie. They knew there was a nursing shortage in this area, and so they needed a space. And it just worked out that we were in this building, we had space to lease, and so they now occupy the entire top floor of our building. They are our largest tenant, and I'll talk more at the end here about what that means for the community as well. So that's what we did. And now I want to really show you kind of what it looks like and what it looked like in real time. So I have a few slides here with some photographs. This is the entrance of the building. On the left-hand side, you can see what it looked like when we started, kind of mid-construction. And then on the right hand, you can see what it looks like now. So the only exterior work we did was we did build this really kind of grand glass lobby in the middle. And we did that because you'll recall my point that part of the core philosophy is environment shapes behavior. We wanted something beautiful. We wanted something new. We wanted something that was full of light so that when people walked in, they absolutely felt like this was not kind of the traditional place in a, that people maybe stuck in poverty are dealing with on a daily basis. This was a place that was special and was made just for them. And so this kind of glass entryway is intended to have that feeling. This is the inside of the entryway. Again, you can see the left-hand side. This is what it looked like kind of mid-construction. And then this is the brand new lobby space. Where that orange pillar is actually where the building ended before. And then kind of the glass lobby is in front of that. We added an elevator. There was already an elevator in this building, but we added a second one. And then kind of here under the lights, it's a bit hard to see. We actually have a beautiful 2-story water feature. So there's water feature that runs down the wall. And really, when people walk in, it's amazing to see their reaction. We'll have kids go up and try to touch the water. They ask us if it's real. Even adults will kind of stop and stand and look. And you have to remember, people are coming to this building for healthcare. Sometimes they're not well. They're coming for new opportunities in workforce. And so we think that providing this space really shows them that they matter, they're assets, and that we want to help them kind of in whatever they're here for with us in the building. So this is the community room of the space. We just dedicated this room this week to the memory of a woman named Ada Lawrence. Ada Lawrence was the first Black teacher in the Erie School District. And we had a donor who wanted to name this space for her. She actually taught at Wayne many years ago. And so we've named this room the Ada Lawrence Community Room. On the left-hand side, you can see what it looked like then. It was the school cafeteria. And we've transformed it on the right into this beautiful community room space. We have an art exhibit hanging in the room now. These pictures are current just from today. And it's actually being used, at the end, I'll talk to you about some of the things this room is used for, but we've had youth groups, films, meetings, community meetings, art exhibits, board meetings. This is truly a community resource that we are not charging for, and we're grateful to have the community use as much as possible. Here's some classroom space. On the left-hand side, you can see again what the classrooms look like. I will say that part of the reason we bought the building was it was so full of light. There were huge windows, and we could kind of see the potential that if we could maybe get down the kind of old dark ceilings and paint, we could really transform it into something. And I think you see that we did. So this is actually the same room. On the far left, you'll see kind of under construction. In the middle, before it was furnished. And now you can see it's being used as our multimedia studio space. Those are actually sewing machines on the desks. We have a fashion design class on Tuesday nights that our students are taking. So I really like to kind of summarize now how I feel about this project, that this was a building that was dying. And I say that because it was empty and it was decaying. Having worked for the Erie School District, I do know and have seen what happens when some of these old buildings are left to kind of decay. Many of us know Roosevelt Middle School on the west side of town sat for so many years that it was eventually beyond repair. It couldn't be saved and it was demolished. We didn't want that to happen at Wayne, and I'm really proud that we saved it for this neighborhood and this community. So in this building that was dying, here's just the things that have happened here since we opened our doors in September. 50 teens enrolled in Ecat's after-school arts programs. By the way, those teenagers right now come from 5 different school districts, all of our city public schools and our parochial schools. We serve them all. It's a place for them to meet and engage with one another. Not one of them is charged anything. Again, as I mentioned, the Board of Education has licensed us for our program. Our first classes in the medical assistant training began this week. We have 5 students enrolled in that program. All of them are women, 4 women of color. So really serving the community with the need to diversify the workforce, particularly in healthcare. 100 students have been enrolled in the first cohort of the School of Nursing program on our top floor. Over 30% of those are students of color. And when we talk about that, what we believe is that the building makes a difference. The building's location in the east side of Erie, its space as a welcoming community space is, we believe, making everyone more comfortable to come here and make these new starts. So we are incredibly proud of that. That 30% number for those students in the nursing program is significantly higher than any other program for nursing in the area. What else is happening here? Primary Health Network, as I mentioned, is providing primary care to hundreds of patients, including, by the way, COVID testing and vaccines in this really critical time. Darling's Pharmacy on the ground floor of the building was just granted a license. They'll begin operating in March. Darling's is a pharmacy that specifically has a license from HRSA to provide prescription drugs at a very low rate to folks in need. So this will be a great resource for people in this neighborhood. There is no pharmacy within walking distance. You can head out East Lake Road or you can head to Parade Street, but there's nothing in walking distance here. So that's going to be a huge benefit. See your doctor upstairs, come right downstairs and fill your prescriptions. We also are now hosting the Erie Made Business Academy in collaboration with Bridgeway Capital. The Business Academy has enrolled 21 creative entrepreneurs who are learning how to open their own businesses here in Erie. These are mostly creative folks, so people who make things and want to learn how to sell them. It's an enormously diverse group. They are meeting here in our space, and we are really pleased to be able to bring that entrepreneurial program to Ecad. We believe that we can then bring it to our students as well. So I mentioned how we have all these teens in our youth arts programs. We'd love to teach those teens eventually how to sell the things that they make, how to become young entrepreneurs. And for many of them, perhaps get their life perhaps out of a track that it shouldn't be in, that's a little more helpful to their futures. And then you can see in the photo here, we had a dedication of a mural on the exterior of the building to the memory of Carla Hughes. Carla was a well-known and beloved teacher in the Erie School District. She meant a lot to a lot of people, and we were so pleased to be able to offer our exterior space on 6th Street to a mural in her honor. So the building that was dying is now full of life, and these are more things that continue to happen. Just a few weeks ago, we held the Royal Rumble in our Laura Gunchin Gymnasium. That's the gym that we renovated. There were over 300 spectators here in attendance, including the gentleman in the picture, who, by the way, I didn't know until my sons told me, is Coach John Calipari from the University of Kentucky. He was here to scout players playing in this gym in the former Wayne School on the east side of Erie. He's standing there with Shannon Pulliam. We lease the gym here to Shannon, and Shannon runs these basketball programs for kids and teens. So it was an amazing weekend, so full of energy, all these kids cheering for this Erie team. And we're really grateful and hope more opportunities like that will take place in our gym. So more things that have happened. We've converted that ground floor space that I mentioned into those small nonprofits. The Blue Coats are here with us, wonderful community organization that really help our kids and families. Erie's Black Wall Street is here, kind of creating, as I mentioned, this entrepreneurial ecosystem as well. Shannon with his organization, Shan Pulls Sports. And then Birthroot Doula, they're providing, as I said, doula outreach for mothers of color. And, some people might not be familiar with what a doula is. A doula is a trained professional who supports a mother during labor and postpartum. And so what this program is intended to do is specifically hire women of color who are doulas to assist mothers of color. We know that the birth outcomes for Black women particularly is very low. And Birthroot is here to help and support these women through their childbirth and hopefully improve those rates. So we are so thrilled that they're here with us in this building as well. As I mentioned, we dedicated our community room to Ada Lawrence just this week. There's a beautiful art exhibit hanging in there by a local artist, Anna Bartra. I encourage any of you that are watching today, come visit. It's right on the ground floor of the building. You can see this beautiful artwork from Anna. Our Erie City Moms, which is just a local group of mothers who meet together to support one another. They've been meeting here in our building the first Monday of the month. It's a little chaotic. We've got 75 moms and kids running around the building, but they meet here and they eat together and they have a speaker and they support each other and there's childcare provided. And so we are glad to open our building and host this event for these moms every month. Positive Youth Development, out of the Susan Hurd Hagen Center up at Barron, they have done their summit for all Erie School District middle school youth. They had that here in the fall. We were so thrilled to host that here in our community room. Tomorrow, Erie High is hosting their Spirit Conference. They're bringing 200 high school students over to be in the building and host their conference here. We hosted the Mercy Center for Women furniture auction a few months ago. And then we've done some professional development for Erie School District teachers. So the point of these slides is really to tell you that in just a few months, we are already making an impact in this neighborhood. We are opening our doors to the folks that need it, and we only see this moving forward. We are already impacting through the tenants we have, but in the community spaces, I think what we're learning is people were hungry for a beautiful space, and we think that the environment really matters for some of these things. So that little report is just in a few months since we opened. So that is really the end of my talk. I hate to really kind of just go on, but I wanted to give you an overview and let you see some visuals of what we've done. I'm happy to take some questions. I think Angela has some, or if there's anyone watching today, but definitely tell me what I missed and we can cover those things now. So thanks for your attention. Angela, I'd love to hear your questions.
Yeah, so thanks so much, Daria. This is mind-blowing. This is I really want to just go over to this afternoon and check everything out. I think yeah, as you said, the amount of visitors that you have and the students signing up for those classes and the pharmacy now and all those things, that really proves that within a short period of time you show that this is something that was missing in that part of Erie. And thank you very much. Congratulations for pulling this together. I'm like really, I don't know what to say, but just the financing part of it and going through these planning phases, then the building. Kudos to you. This is amazing. How many people do you have on your team? How do you organize yourself?
Yeah, what a great question. Thank you. And thanks for those kudos. It has been a lot of hard work. I first want to say I have an amazing board. Our board of directors for Ecad, we have 16 folks on our board right now. And I couldn't do any of this without them. So they are incredibly important. In addition to myself, the first hire that I hired was a woman named Tamika Craig. Tamika is our adult student specialist. She supports our adult students, and she also now is our front desk person. And I like to tell people, Tamika's from the neighborhood. She lives not too many blocks away. Her husband is Daryl Craig, who is the head of the Blue Coat organization. Mm-hmm. And she knows everybody in this neighborhood, and she is truly the secret sauce of our work. Every person that comes in this door is greeted by her, whether they're here to see us or one of our tenants. And she truly has made a difference because she is she shows personal care to everybody that comes in. So Tamika was our first hire. I also have a director of arts programs, Jude Shingle. Jude used to be at the library. We have 2 medical instructors, Michelle Altman and Cindy Roby. They're teaching in our medical classes. And then we have an office assistant, Hannah Moran. And then we have a number of part-time art instructors. So our core staff is about 5. And then we have part-time art instructors who come and go depending on the classes.
That's wonderful to hear that, you have a great board and a good staff to really carry out the plans and ideas that you've worked so hard for. I do have one question here from the audience. And the question is regarding the first part of your presentation. Do you have any other income sources beside lease payments? Is this patronage?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you think about our project, it's really important to separate 2 things. Ecad is a nonprofit organization. We do our own programming, as I mentioned. We are funded, like most nonprofits, through philanthropic gifts. We participate in some state tax credit programs like the Neighborhood Assistance Program, the EITC program. And then we also get a little funding from the state through Manchester Bidwell. Manchester Bidwell has a grant with the State Department of Education, and a little bit of funding comes down to us from that. So as a nonprofit, those are really our funding streams. The building now, which actually, by the way, is its own entity, Ecad Wayne School, Inc., it's completely separate 501c3. The building takes in its own income from the leases, from the rent payments we receive. It uses those to pay our debt service that we have. We also obviously have to do our building maintenance. And then a very small portion of that does come back to Ecad. So the idea all along with my board was, let's not be a typical nonprofit that is constantly having to write grants and ask for donations. Let's find a sustainable revenue source. And so we hope the building will eventually be that. Right now, we're just getting started, but I will tell you the balance sheet for ECAT Wayne does allow us to push a little income over to ECAT to support our programs. But the two organizations run kind of in a parallel way, one with regular nonprofit programming, let's call it, and then one with building maintenance that's really funded through those lease payments.
So that question was actually from Art Leopold. He's one of our greatest patrons. He participated in a lot of digital programs. Thanks, Art. And
thanks, Art.
I do have one other question personally that I would like you to highlight, that I imagine for new Americans, a start of a new career and quality after school programming is essential for a successful start in Erie. Do you have any specific programming to focus on them, on their needs?
Well, you know, Angela, and I should say, what's really interesting about our arts programs that we've seen is that we are really serving a diverse group of students. Now, initially, of course, when I say diverse, you know, we might think, you know, racial or cultural. We're also serving students of a wide variety of abilities. We are seeing a number of students coming with some various, you know, emotional, varying levels of ability. We have some students that are on the autism spectrum that come. We actually have a nonverbal student that comes. We have some students that are transitioning, going through some gender issues of their own. So it's already becoming a place where students are, I think, feeling safe and feeling like everybody can find a place in the work we do. Now, specifically about new Americans, we've really struggled to think, you know, what should we have for that group? Do we need to be thinking about language barriers and things? And we have a few, but what's really interesting is we were just asked last week by East Middle School, which is across the street, to do a program specifically for their new American students. And we are excited to do it because I think it will help us see how we can serve that population better. And the school looked at us and said, we just want these students to see what's available in the community. So they're going to be bringing over a whole group of these students here. And again, I think it'll really help us learn too, how we can do better in that area. We really have a huge opportunity for daytime programming for students because, as I mentioned, our programs all take place after school. So we want to work with, you know, schools that have specific groups, or even some of our schools. For example, we're trying to build a relationship with Eagle's Nest, Bishop Brock's organization down the street. They don't have arts programs. So we want to build relationships where we can bring those kids over. So I think as we go little by little and we're meeting more of the students and understanding their needs, we can build programs to be responsive to them.
Thank you so much. That is a great answer. We have another question here from the audience on Facebook. Are there other developers in the area looking at your building model? Because I mean, it looks beautiful. You made such transformation and you hired an architect. I would think this is now a gem in that neighborhood. So are other developers looking at it?
Well, I will say, I joke that this took about 2 years to do and probably took 2 years off of my life. It wasn't easy. And we're so proud of it and we love it and we're so glad it happened. But I will tell you, particularly for us to be the first in the area to do the new market, we had to educate everybody every step of the way. And as we were learning, we were having to educate our partners. And so it was an uphill battle. And that's truly why we hung our hat on this idea of making the impossible possible. We have talked to others who think about perhaps using this model. One thing I'll tell you, it's extremely expensive. We probably spent about $500,000 in legal fees alone. Now that comes out of the total capital stack, but it's not a cheap way to do a financing deal. I tell people it's kind of a last resort if you can't, you know, you're not open or don't have the ability to do anything else, but it is expensive. And we try to really communicate that. It was worth it for us because there's no other way we could have done this project, but people really have to be aware. Now, I will say, I think because of our project, we've built some capacity. There are now attorneys in town who are familiar with this. And so I think we had to go outside of Erie to use outside counsel. I think now as people, and we have attorneys who have built capacity, it probably would be a little bit less expensive, but we have talked to some, but no one's really approached us and said they're ready to go. I actually was just asked to sit on the advisory board for the state PHFA for their new markets. And so I'm going to be really interested in trying to bring more of these to Erie when we have projects, because it's definitely been underutilized in our region.
Thank you so much. I think this is probably one of the greatest side effects through your hard labor of 2 years, that you educate Erie. There's a knowledge now gained that we may not have had before, because this is the first of its kind. So thank you so much. I did, when I first looked through, how do we build our conversation here for today? And this is a very generic question, but I feel that too many school buildings resemble windowless institutions, have a depressing effect on students and teachers. The same sad look and feel hang over many office buildings and even factories around the country. What do you suggest can be done with fewer means to create a positive environment, like the philosophy behind it, maybe?
Well, I mean, I need to say first, so in my other hat, I was elected recently to the Erie School Board. Erie schools are very important to me. As you mentioned, I work for them. I went to them. My children have gone and are going to them. And we know that many of our buildings in Erie are old. They're in disrepair. And for a long time, there was an excuse for that. We didn't have the funding, and I was intimately involved in the fight to get it for us. I will say that I think that's changing. I know that, as a board and certainly under the current district administration, there's a real effort to upgrade. But I'll be honest, I myself walk through some of our schools sometimes, and I understand why our students maybe feel the way that they feel, and we definitely need to do better. And I tease our district administration. In fact, I had our school board retreat here a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, whenever you guys want to learn how to really renovate a building, just let me know. We've done one of your buildings for you. Of course, completely different, and it really can't be compared. But I do think that there's a sense that environment matters, light and beauty matter. And I think that there's a physical reaction to those kind of spaces. And I hope that maybe as more people come here and see the difference, that we'll see some of that trickle out. But again, with funding now, I believe in Erie we'll turn the corner, and I think that lesson has been learned. But I definitely recommend it. And I'm not sure if originally I bought that philosophy, but I'll tell you, being here and watching the reaction others have, it's real. It's a physical reaction.
And I think also, by no coincidence, Bill Strickland and his model has actually been replicated throughout, I want to say maybe, and since last night we're not supposed to say Rust Belt anymore, but I'm still saying it because people know what I mean, around the old industrial cities along the Great Lakes, and maybe even.
Yeah, in fact, I'll tell you, one of the ones that had the most impact on me, I went to Grand Rapids in Michigan pretty soon after I was hired, and I was just blown away. They're a place, they totally embrace the philosophy. They're doing amazing work. And what I love about Grand Rapids is I feel like Grand Rapids is like Erie 10 years from now, like we're kind of getting to some of the places that maybe they've already gone. So I think they're a great model for us, and we've used them as a model for our center specifically. So you're right. I mean, this has been replicated in a lot of different places.
I also would like to know, I know we just opened and it's going so well, and we love the Ecad model. It's an amazing concept. So what comes next with, I'm sure you have still a ton of ideas that need to be implemented, but there's growth potential. There's, the funding sounds like a very solid concept. So what comes next? Are you maybe you're already serving the youth population, you're serving young families, the mothers of this community? Are you maybe thinking about extending some of the services for, senior citizens, for instance?
Well, I mean, As for what comes next in this building, I think that we'll continue to listen to the needs of the populations we serve. But I will tell you, just last week, I actually traveled to New Haven, where we have a center, CONCAT, Connecticut Center for Arts and Technology. And what's very interesting is in Connecticut, they jumped off from their center and actually formed a real estate company to do additional community development. And so my board and I are interested in this model. We're at the very beginning stages of it. We know there are additional needs in this neighborhood. For example, food. This is an enormous food desert here on the east side. Working here now, I will tell you, other than Country Fair, thank goodness for them up the road, there's a Syrian market that has great Syrian food, but there's really nowhere where you could buy your day-to-day groceries if you were a family that lived here. So we know there are more needs. We love this neighborhood. There is so much energy and so much history that we want to engage more with our neighbors and talk with them about other things they'd like to see. And so I think you'll see us starting to do that, particularly now with COVID, hopefully, kind of fading away. We want to talk with our neighbors and think about additional, perhaps acquisition, development to continue to meet the needs of the neighbors, both inside the building and perhaps outside as well.
Yeah, I think there's no lack of brain power, of creativity and talents. So if you become like a magnet for these young entrepreneurs that you mentioned, there will be a ripple effect throughout your neighborhood, and that's what needs to be done, because I think that's something people have been waiting for a long time. Sign of hope, a plan of hope, not just like school is important, but then school is over. What do you do next? So I would like to know if there's already any positive effects that you see from the afternoon programs, and then you were in the school board. Do you hear anything from the teachers that, hey, students seem to be really happy, they come back to class, they talk about their projects, their art projects? Do you get any feedback from the school side of it?
So we're still building that feedback loop with our schools. And again, you hate to use the excuse, but COVID's been tough. And schools are really, they have a lot to do. So I don't know that we've fully developed that feedback loop. What I will tell you is students come back. We had fall classes, and then all those kids came back, nearly all of them, for our spring classes. So we know there's something there. We are talking a lot about whether we can perhaps step into the space. I think most people are aware that youth violence in the city of Erie right now is particularly concerning. It's concerning in and around our schools. It's concerning in our neighborhoods. And so we're thinking about how Ecad might be able to step into that space, whether it's just as a safe place for conversation, whether there are additional activities we can do with some of our partners to begin to get at that issue, to give students a voice. And we are hearing some ripple back on that students are interested in sharing, what they're thinking and feeling. And again, just being with one another in a space that's not their school. We're mixing students from all over the county, and I think that will be very powerful. So we're still looking forward to hearing those stories, but already we're seeing the connections being made, and we're thinking about what those connections might mean for additional community work.
Great. So in a truest sense, it's a placemaking organization with Ecad. So that's great to hear. So you've seen the effects happening with, Bill Strickland said that art is a bridge, and it potentially gets you out of poverty, out of your, gets you on a career track even. Is it too early to already see an effect at Ecad with the teens, with the mentors, that they understand the philosophy of Strickland?
Yeah, I think that, it has to come, but I do believe we're already hearing from the art students, particularly, this entrepreneurial desire. And I think we've been smart in the art classes that we're offering. For example, fashion design, photography. These are ways that kids can have a side hustle. This is money, skills that can lead them to careers. I don't know that that's always what we had in mind originally, but now that we're seeing it start to develop and listening to the students, I think we're already hearing talk about what a career in those paths could look like. And so I think we'll build on those as we go. I will say with our adult program as well, I mean, it's really important to note here, so we have 5 students in our first cohort of our medical assisting program. We will do another cohort beginning in the fall. So we'll be running 2 cohorts. We expect, multiple cohorts of students going through here. The starting wage for a medical assistant in Erie right now is about $16 or $17 an hour. I mean, these are living wage jobs. And I should say that the programs we've picked for those adult programs, they were picked with a purpose. They were picked because they're in high demand here in Erie, and because they provide a living wage. We will not train folks here for minimum wage jobs. It's just that won't change their lives. And so, when we look at the students we have right now and think about, when they're done with our program in 28 weeks, they can go out and really truly have a career and then be on a ladder to additional advancement. Those are the things that change lives. And so, Angela, it's a little early for us here, but I think we're already started on the path, and we'll see that very soon.
That's so great to hear. That's very neat. I do have 2 concluding questions here. So I was like asking you that question. If you had unlimited resources and time, what one problem would you solve?
Well, again, I think that the physical impacts of poverty and the mental impacts of poverty are really beyond what most people understand. And having sat where I sat, with the Erie School District and seeing with my own children, our children in Erie and wherever there is poverty face a life that is extremely difficult and one that most of us cannot understand. And it's not just, not having money. It's all the impact that goes into that, and all the ways that it's felt in their lives, and all the difficulties, mental, physical, emotional, that they face. And I wish we could solve those problems. And it's a huge task, but we can get at it from different ways. We can get at it from providing, living wage jobs for people to make more money. We can get at it by providing a safe social emotional space for students to begin to see what I like to call their future selves, to think about what could be possible. We can get at it by providing supportive services for their families, for them. We're doing a lot of that here, but there's so much work that needs to be done. But to me, it's helping these students find a way out and helping them solve these issues that are going to keep them back. And we know will just be generational. And so here at Ecad, we'll do our part. We'll work with the partners in the building and around us. Maybe together we can get at that. But that has to be, I think, for all of us, the number one thing on our minds for the future of our city.
I agree. This is yeah, and probably the food problem is one of the biggest ones that need, because you cannot be productive and learn and advance or progress when you don't have the right nutrition. I think that's really important. So I hope that there's more organizations on the East Side that want to work with that, because that's a huge undertaking. Maybe the Sisters of St. Joseph's are partnering with you, but yeah, let other people, like I think you have a lot on your plate, so be happy to do a follow-up program with you.
Thank you.
When you have ideas. So Daria, as I said, I want to come over today and see the building. I have other project lined up, so I won't be making, but I would like to come. Also, Daria, where can people find out about Ecap programming? I saw on Facebook you have a ton of project and programs lined up. How can one become involved and volunteer? This is your time to advertise for Ecad.
So I shame on me, I didn't put our website on my final slide there, but our website is eriecat.org. That's ERIECAT.org. Very grateful to our director of arts programs, Jude Shingle, who built that site for us. It's extremely comprehensive. It has photos of the Wayne renovation. It has all of our programming. It has ways to get involved and donate. Just a small thing. We took over management of the flower garden on the boulevard on 6th Street there. We're always looking for volunteers to help us with gardening. We have lots of ways for people to help. So eriecat.org is the place to find us. online. We also have a Facebook and Instagram page. Hannah Moran, who works for me, manages those, and she's doing a great job of really getting the word out on those. So that's really the place. I will say though, Angela, this building is open from 8 to 5, Monday to Friday. Anybody can walk in and be greeted by Tamika Craig and see the art that's in the lobby, and just, even walk around. If I'm not available for a tour, you can at least see the common spaces yourself. So stop by. We would love to have you or anyone who's watching. We love to give tours and show off the space.
That sounds fabulous. I'd take you up on your word. We also put the information on Ecad on yourself on our Facebook page. We link to your Facebook page here. So, and also if you have any questions, you can reach out to me and I will happily forward the questions to Daria. So we've reached the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your still super busy day. Best regards to your team and to the students, and so excited to see this is happening.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Thank you for the opportunity. I love talking about it. So thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And of course, to all of you watching along, thank you for tuning in. These programs and discussions and the exchange of information and ideas wouldn't be possible without you. Thanks, Art. Thanks, Karen, on Facebook for watching today, and all the other ones. Folks, for more information about the JES, including how to register for additional events, please visit jeserie.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Jefferson Educational Society, I'm Angela Bowman. Thanks for listening and learning with us. Have a great rest of your day.